Link engaged.
Visit us at TeamSpeak.com.
So, ladies and gentlemen, looks like I am the lucky fool right now, being able to load up this second game here for semi-final number 2. We are on Shakura's Plateau. It is the second game, Terran versus Protoss. Lucky Fool from Team Energy here as the yellow Terran in the bottom right location. Meanwhile, his opponent, ZeNEXYong, is up 1-0, the teal Protoss in the top left location, spawning here on the cross positions right now. So, what did happen in the last game? Both guys did go for some interesting builds. Lucky Fool tried to go with some early aggression, was not able to do much damage at all. Young was able to hold off the early attack, and because of the fact that he was fast expanding, he was in a good economic position. So he was able to not only get a couple more units, but also a little bit more attack, and then when the first attacks of Lucky Fool actually came, Young had enough stuff to hold it off, and he was using his units very, very smartly. So he was not losing too much stuff, lost a couple of Stalkers here, lost 1 or 2 Zealots there. That's not a big deal, because if you keep those Crucial Colossi alive, if you keep those High Templars alive, you are able to move in, you are able to do a lot of damage, and that's what he absolutely did. So, Young looking good in game number 1. Of course, Young only needs to win one more game in order to advance to the finals. The finals would then be played out as a Protoss versus Protoss. On the other hand, if Lucky Fool is able to learn from his mistakes, he should be able to win this game, but he also has to be able to win the second game as well. Of course, a best of 3 means whoever wins the first 2 out of 3 matches will be able to win this match, win the series, and then advance to the next round, which of course here for the Team Liquid TeamSpeak Open number 24 are the finals. Now there is the cybernetic score coming up for Young in his base, nothing too unusual, and we don't see any gas for Lucky Fool in his base, so this means he is probably going for a very, very, very fast expansion. We can see the mineral count for Lucky Fool is getting higher and higher. He should move out with an SCV pretty soon to the natural expansion, and there we go. So a one barracks gasless expand is coming up. The probe of Young was moving in, and the probe was not spotting if there is a gas or not. The probe was not spotting if there was a second barracks or not. But one thing the probe did to spot was that there was actually an SCV standing around here at this natural expansion of Lucky Fool. So this could be quite an indicator that Lucky Fool is doing this one barracks gasless expand build. Now, interesting pylon placement here coming up for Young. This might indicate that he is actually trying to hide some tech, maybe prevent a scan from coming up, but Lucky Fool's SCV was moving around here on the left side of the base of Young, and he did spot the pylon, so maybe he knows where to scan if this game is going on for quite a while. Now, of course, with the command center coming up for Lucky Fool at his natural expansion, he needs to have the bunker just in order to survive, because when you're going one barracks expand with no gas, you will only have Marines, and if your opponent is sending in a couple of Stalkers, you might be in a lot of trouble. So having those bunkers is always a very, very crucial and good thing to have, especially considering that every single infantry unit in a bunker gets 1 additional range, so the range for the Marine, which is 5, will then increase by 20% to range 6, which is then the same range as a Stalker. So bunkers are a good thing to have. So, by the way, Young is going for an expansion himself as well. There he's adding another gateway and a 3rd gateway, so 1 gate expand coming up by Young. Meanwhile, it is just the gasless expand by Lucky Fool, who already finished with the engineering bay and his 2nd barracks, and because Lucky Fool was mining now enough out of those 2 refineries, he's immediately going for the +1 ranged attack. He's even going before he puts down any tech labs, before he puts down any reactor, +1 attack. And this is quite an interesting move by him, so I have to say, I'm not sure what to think of it. Somehow I like it, because I've never seen this type of build so far. in a weekly tournament. I do cast a lot of those. Now there we go, add-on number 1 and number 2 coming up. Add-on 1 is a reactor, the add-on number 2 is going to be a tech clip for a Lucky Fool here, adding a factory as well. Meanwhile, we can see that Young is going for the Robo Facility as a Protoss player. When you do those 1-gate expand plays, you have to build initial gateways, of course, and you most of the time have to go for a robotics facility, because when your opponent is going, for example, Cloaked Banshee, oh yeah, you're dead. If your opponent is going for some, which of course does not happen very often at all, but if he's going for some Cloaked Ghost aggression early on, you might lose a lot of probes, and of course having Observer is never wrong, because you actually want to know what your opponent is up to, if there's any early aggression, if you need to force field your ramp in order to stay alive. And of course this also gives you the opportunity to go for a very fast Colossus transition. Now there we can see Young is doing 2 things in his main base. Thing number 1 is adding a Forge and a Twilight Council, and the second thing is he's adding 3 more gateways. So looks like he wants to go for aggressive gateway play out of 2 bases, not yet going for any assimilator as his natural expansion. Meanwhile, the refineries for Lucky Fool just are finishing right now at his natural expansion. Once again, Lucky Fool having a lot of those bunkers. And with those bunkers, he should be able to hold off any early attacks. Young having once again quite a lot of sentries, and most of them are having full or at least more than 50% energy, so he will be able to cast quite a lot of those force fields. The +1 armor once again is getting chrono boosted for Young, and as well as the charge for the Zealots right now. Lucky Fool still having a little proxy SCV here at the front, at the top left center expansion. Maybe he's going to use this in the future. Now finally we can see Young is adding a couple of more assimilators, and since he is researching the charge in the Twilight Council, this probably means that he is about to go for a lot of Zealots, like he did do in the last game. And those charge Zealots, they paid off for him quite nicely. Especially the good thing about the charge Zealots is they do not cost much. 100 minerals is not that much compared to all those other Protoss units you can get out of a gateway or Stargate Robo Facility and all those other beautiful Protoss buildings. On the other hand, they are fast, they can soak up a lot of damage, and they really do scale very good with upgrades. Now Lucky Fool is about to move out once again. He's got 2 medivacs, he's got a couple of forces. There was a Stalker of Young running around. He sees those forces, especially with the Observer being placed at the ramp at his natural expansion, and Lucky Fool, he is apparently not too confident. Pulling back with his forces once again. He might be afraid of an engagement once again, and we have to see how this is going to turn out here. Single Scouting Marine moving at the front. Maybe he wants to distract Young a little bit and drop at the same time. He occupies all the Xel'Naga watchtowers, so in that regard he denies a little bit of vision. But take a look at this at the main base of Young. He's got those charge zealots, and he's got the fully energized sentry ready to deal with some kind of drops. So there's even a cannon in the back, so those drops most likely will not be too successful. We need to see how this is going to turn out, and once again, like in the last game, Lucky Fool attempting to drop, not being too successful. Meanwhile, the rest of the army of Young chasing this single Marine array. The Marine still lives, stimmed once again down to the 27 HP he's got left, and he needs to watch out. He needs to have some heal from the medivac, or his addiction will kill him in the end. Of course, Stimpack addiction is a very serious illness and needs to be treated properly. Now Young here with single observer in the base of Lucky Fool. He sees where the forces of Lucky Fool are, so he knows, okay, he's not going to attack me, what can I do? Oh, let me just build a Nexus at the 8 o'clock. A Nexus and another pylon is coming up. Meanwhile, he's even having a pylon at the 2 o'clock base in the top right at the natural expansion, so he will be able to know if there are some forces taking out the pylon when You can check on the forces what upgrades do they have. And speaking of upgrades, you remember LuckyFool did start with his upgrades pretty fast, and 13 minutes into the game he's already researching the +3 attack, so this is a very fast upgrade coming up here by LuckyFool. Now the +2 armor is coming up for Yong, as well as the Scythe Storm, which is finished in the next 5 seconds. Yong with a Zealot at the Xel'Naga Watchtower sees all the forces of LuckyFool, so he needs to pull back. So in that regard, he's in quite a good position. Adding some more gateways to be able to warp in more units. The Scythe Storm has finished, no blink has been started, but who needs blink when you basically only have Zealots, a couple of sentries and some Archons here in the mix. And there is even the scouting factory, and this factory is not only there for scouting purposes, some people call it retard magnet, because it distracts your opponent pretty well. Stalkers and sentries tend to shoot on this factory rather than on some ground units of your Terran opponent, and there LuckyFool is moving out. Looks like their engagement is about to begin right now. Stimpack has been started, the Zealots are charging in from a lot of positions, the force fields being placed very nicely, more storms being casted as well. LuckyFool trying to pick up some of the forces, but the Scythe Storms, in addition to the force fields and the Zealots, were just a little bit too much to handle for LuckyFool. Yong here with his Zealots and the +2 armor is just taking not enough damage, even though LuckyFool started to get his upgrades that much early on in the game. He's got the pylon in the top right still left, so he knows, oh yeah, my opponent is on 2 bases, I am on 3 bases pretty soon in terms of mining, so I should be all good. No need to rush into things, no need to attack, and especially not into someone who is still having some bunkers at his natural expansion. So very smart and controlled play here coming up by ZeNEXYong. Now LuckyFool, he is getting some more ghosts, but he was not able to get off any good EMPs or any important EMPs at all early in the game. Now he is going to build some bunkers outside of his natural expansion. The reason why he's doing this, even though they are more vulnerable, is basically because he wants to not only protect his own expansion number 1, but expansion number 2, which is going to get taken by him right now. Here we can see the remaining Marauders taking out the last pylon at this second location, so the command center can land. Orbital is coming up, but when we take a look at the amount of harvesters both players are having, it is interesting. Even though ZeNEXYong was able to get up his expansion so much more early, and he's also adding another nexus in the bottom left of the map, he's only ahead by 4 probes, so LuckyFool was doing a good job at constantly producing those SCVs, so he will be able to saturate this base quite fast, already adding the refineries at this base, and now he's going for the personal cloaking. This of course is a very good upgrade to have, because your ghost can move in and get some EMPs off before the battle actually begins, which of course is quite important when you take a look at the forces of ZeNEXYong. It's just a blob, it's a ball of units, so those EMPs are able to do much more damage than when you see all those Zealots charging around in a line. Now Yong will be maxed out pretty soon. LuckyFool still 36 supply away from being maxed out again as well, but the longer the game goes on, I think LuckyFool might be able to catch up in terms of supply a little bit. Basically having the same amount of harvesters in addition to some mules might be quite successful in terms of income for him. Now ZeNEXYong is once again, like in the last game, adding some Colossi. He's going for the +3 ground attack. He's got the +2 ground armor already finished, so he's using his chrono boosts wisely on his forges, and because of the fact that he's got the +3 armor finished, the +3 attack finished pretty soon, he decides, okay, let's just go for even more upgrades. He wants to go for some shields, sending some High Templars here at the front. Maybe he wants to get some feedbacks or some of those good Scythe Storms up, but because of the SCV by LuckyFool being here in the center of the map, ZeNEXYong was doing the wise thing. He was pulling back. By the way, the factory for LuckyFool still is alive, and even with a 1250 HP, so not a single shot was given that day, at least towards the factory here. Now, one thing which is also really important is that Young is already having this Nexus number 4 up. Still only one probe is mining here, but he could have sent some more probes over here. And we'll take a look at the harvester count. NrGLuckyFool is actually the one getting more and more ahead in terms of harvesters. He's doing a really good job at constantly producing those SCVs. Got another command center in the making in the top right. This observer here by Young still spots everything. And Young is saying, okay, I still don't need to attack, but on the other hand, he needs to watch out. He really needs to watch out, because suddenly, if there are just too many ghosts on the field, if they are well spread enough, he might be in a good enough position. But maybe Young is saying, okay, I will have the better tech. I can have the Colossi, Archons, and Zealots at the front, and also those crucial High Templars. So basically, Young is waiting for the perfect army composition. He is adding 6 more gateways, so in case he's losing too much, he will be able to reinforce his army so fast. So because of the fact that he's got 13 gateways at least in his main base pretty soon. Oh, he's also adding 3 more gateways here at the 3rd expansion of him. So he will be on a lot of gateways, and a lot of gateways, of course, are very good. He also added a warp prison, so he might go for some drops at the same time, going for the +2 shields right now. NrGLuckyFool realizing, okay, there are the forces of Young, even going for a scan, so he knows what he is up against. And in the end, now it comes down to unit control and unit positioning, because both players are currently maxed out, with NrGLuckyFool having the very good EMPs here at the center of the map, but the Zealots charging in, doing so much damage. It's up to the Marines and Marauders to just kite those units with beautiful Psy Storms, and NrGLuckyFool is not running out of those Psy Storms, allowing the High Templars to do so much more damage. But the remaining gateway units are gone, and now maybe the remaining Marauders are able to clear up the last Colossi, but because of the fact that there's so many gateways on the field, NrGLuckyFool is in a lot of trouble. Young just warped in another bunch of Zealots, and those Zealots are now wreaking havoc. Not anymore, because he's pulling them back. NrGLuckyFool using some SCVs and few newly spawned Marauders to scare those forces off, and now the remaining bunkers here will be taken out by Young in the center of the map. There's an orbital coming up, and I think he might be forced to cancel the orbital and lift it up, but he's not doing any of those, and he is losing this command center unnecessarily. At the same time, in the top right, there was this warp prism harassment going on. The command center over there got taken out as well. There's Zealots in the 2nd expansion of NrGLuckyFool doing so much more damage. All the Zealots will go down right now. And here are some more Zealots even on hold position, so he's trying to kill some more SCVs without actually attacking the remaining Marauders and Marines. Still, NrGLuckyFool pulling back with his forces, but there are still some Zealots left. So there was one Instructor Zealot with 13 kills, so this has absolutely been paying off for ZeNEXYong. And ZeNEXYong, he was able to kill 62 SCVs with all of his attacks right now, so he's in a very good position, and he decided to go for 8 Archons, and those Archons will be able to do a lot of damage. Some EMPs going on, but they are not doing too much damage. The Colossi in the back are now attacking once again as well. The Stalkers doing their part by taking out the remaining Medivacs, and I think ZeNEXYong got this 2nd game as well. GG is called, and good luck as well. So we have a finals, Protoss versus Protoss. Ranged is going to play against ZeNEXYong here in the Team Liquid Open number 24. So, some people might... Okay. So, we are going to have to restart the stream. The stream will be offline for a short period of time, but don't you worry, the stream will be back in just 1 minute.